Have you ever just stopped for a second and thought, what really happens after we die? Like, where do we actually go? Heaven? Hell? Now, most of us grow up hearing this. If you're good, you go up. If you're bad, you go down. Simple, right? But what if I told you, it's not that simple at all? What if heaven and hell aren't just places far away in the clouds or deep underground, but something that actually begins right here, in our minds, in our hearts, in how we live every single day? See, we've been taught to fear hell and to dream about heaven. But fear and fantasy rarely teach us truth. The truth about heaven and hell isn't just about where you go when you die, it's about the state of your soul while you're alive. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man, hard-working, decent guy, went to work every day, paid his bills, smiled when he needed to, but inside, he felt empty. He was always chasing something, money, approval, pleasure, success, but it never felt enough. He used to say, "One day I'll be happy, one day I'll be at peace." But that one day never came. Then one night, his friend asked him, "What if heaven isn't somewhere you go later, but something you feel now?" He laughed it off. But that question stuck with him, because deep down he knew he was living his own version of hell right here on earth. That's the part most people don't realize. Heaven and hell aren't just rewards or punishments handed out after death. They're reflections of how we live now. When your heart is heavy with guilt, hatred, jealousy, or regret, you're already tasting hell. And when you live with love, peace, forgiveness, and purpose, that's heaven, right there, in your chest. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying heaven and hell don't exist beyond this life. But maybe the afterlife is just the continuation of what your soul has already been creating here. Think about it. If your soul is filled with light, love, and gratitude, wouldn't it naturally rise to something beautiful? But if it's heavy with hate and ego, wouldn't it sink into its own darkness? Let's be honest, we've all experienced both. Have you ever gone through a moment where your mind just wouldn't stop attacking you? Where you replayed mistakes over and over again until it felt like your chest was on fire with guilt or shame? That's not a devil with horns torturing you. That's your own mind creating a personal hell. And then there are those rare, beautiful moments when you're helping someone, or you're sitting in peace, or you feel loved for who you really are. That calm, that warmth, that's a glimpse of heaven. The truth is, heaven and hell aren't just destinations. They're frequencies of the soul. You tune into one or the other based on how you think, how you treat people, how you connect to something higher than yourself. Let's get real for a second. We live in a world obsessed with what happens after death, but we barely think about what's happening while we're alive. People argue about religion, debate over who's right, quote scriptures like they're weapons, but none of that matters if your heart isn't aligned. Imagine someone who prays every day but treats people like garbage. Or someone who goes to church or temple or mosque but carries hate in their heart. Do you think that's what heaven looks like? You can't reach paradise if you carry poison inside. Now I know some of you might be thinking, okay, but isn't heaven supposed to be paradise, with angels and light and no suffering? And hell, a place of fire and pain? Sure, those are the images we grow up with. But maybe those descriptions were never meant to be taken literally. Maybe they were meant to teach us something deeper. Fire, for example, it's the burning of regret, of ego, of desire. When you let those control you, your soul burns. And light, that's truth, love, awareness. When you walk in light, you feel free, peaceful, alive. Heaven and hell aren't punishment or reward. They're consequences of alignment or misalignment with truth. Let me tell you another story. There was once a woman who lived in constant comparison. She'd scroll on her phone, see people living better lives, and it would eat her alive. She thought, why am I not enough? She went to therapy, read self-help books, even started praying, but she never felt peace. Until one day she had this breakdown moment. She cried out, "God, if you're real, just show me peace, just for 1 second." And she said in that quiet moment after her tears stopped, she felt something she couldn't explain. Not a voice, not a vision, just silence. But it was the most beautiful silence she'd ever felt. like the world paused and she could finally breathe. That's heaven. When your mind stops warring with itself and you finally feel still. You don't need to die to get there. You just need to wake up. Now let's flip it. There's another kind of hell, the one that disguises itself as success. Some of the most miserable people on earth are the ones who made it. They have money, fame, luxury, but inside, they're restless. Because no amount of more fills a spiritual emptiness. You can have everything the world offers and still feel like your soul is starving. That's hell too, just a more expensive version of it. Heaven and hell are not faraway realms separated by clouds or flames. They're two sides of the same coin. And the coin is you. The question is, which side are you living on? See, what no one tells you is that you build your afterlife with the bricks of your daily choices. Every thought, every word, every action, it's either raising your soul toward light or dragging it deeper into shadow. When you lie, gossip, hurt others, or chase ego, you're building hell. But when you forgive, when you love, when you give without expecting, you're building heaven. You don't enter heaven. You become it. And that's where religion, spirituality, and self-awareness all meet. Every major faith, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, they all describe heaven and hell differently. But the message behind all of them is almost the same. Your soul becomes what it practices. If you practice love, you'll become love. If you practice hate, you'll become hate. And when you die, you don't go somewhere else. You just continue being what you already are. That's why the spiritual masters, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, the Prophet Muhammad, they all focused on transformation now. They didn't say wait until you die. They said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. Enlightenment is now. Peace is here. But we keep pushing it off, as if it's a destination on a map instead of a state of being. Here's the part that really hit me when I started thinking about this. Heaven and hell aren't God's way of sorting good and bad people. They're reflections of how close or far we are from divine truth. God doesn't throw us into fire. We walk there ourselves when we live without love. Think of it like light and shadow. The sun shines everywhere, but if you hide in a cave, you'll be in darkness. That's not the sun punishing you. That's just the result of where you've chosen to stand. The same goes for our souls. The closer we are to truth, compassion, and humility, the more light we feel. The further we drift, through greed, lies, pride, the colder and darker life becomes. Now here's something personal. I remember a time in my life when I was chasing everything outside me: approval, money, validation. I was so focused on being someone that I forgot to be real. And it hit me one night. I was exhausted, anxious, and lonely. That's when I realized I was already living in my own hell. I didn't need flames to feel the burn. My thoughts were enough. My guilt was enough. My shame was enough. That's when I started changing the question from what happens when I die to how can I make my soul alive right now? And that's where the truth about heaven and hell comes alive. It's not about fear. It's about awareness. It's not about punishment. It's about alignment. So, what if every day you asked yourself one question? Am I moving closer to light, or am I drifting into shadow? If you start doing that, you'll notice something magical. Heaven slowly starts showing up in the smallest things. In your morning coffee. In the laughter of your friend. In the way you forgive yourself for being human. Heaven isn't the end of your story. It's the awareness that you're already part of something divine. Hell isn't a curse. It's a wake-up call. It's your soul saying, you're living out of alignment. Come home. And maybe that's what God's been trying to tell us all along. Heaven and hell aren't His way of scaring or rewarding us. They're His way of guiding us back to love, to truth, to light. So the next time someone tells you you're going to hell, smile and remember, you choose every day which one you want to live in. You choose through your thoughts, your kindness, your forgiveness, your awareness. Because the truth about heaven and hell that most people don't know is this: They're not out there somewhere. They're right here, right now, waiting for you to wake up to them. Heaven isn't about escaping life. It's about transforming it. And the real hell isn't fire. It's living a life where you never realized you were divine all along. So today, choose light. Choose love. Build your heaven one thought at a time. And I promise, one day when your body is gone, your soul will already know the way home.